So the main topic I'm going to be discussing in my paper is about police brutality and also talking about how when you break the rules, what are the consequences formed from breaking those rules. And to do that, I'm going to be using both Civil War and Young Justice from the readings that we've been reading in class and pull up examples of the superheroes breaking the rules, especially with Civil War and the consequences that came from Captain America and his team ending up, splitting off and not wanting to be registered and that kind of stuff. Then I'm also going to be using different mangas and explaining different parts of different mangas where some of the characters have broken the rules and the consequences that have formed from breaking those rules in the different mangas. The main manga I'm going to be using is Bleach, and that's one of my favorite ones, and the whole beginning kind of first two arcs, I believe, of it is really kind of central to this idea of not following the rules, because one of the main characters ends up coming to Earth, and she's a Soul Reaper, which is a part of the almost like heaven's police force kind of, and bringing souls back from the dead to heaven. And so she ends up going to Earth and meets this Earthling who's one of the other main characters in this book, and she ends up giving her power to him so he can save his family. Now, that is a big no-no in the rules when it comes to the Soul Reapers, like code and philosophy. And so because of that, she ends up being brought back to the Soul Society and ends up being put on trial and ends up actually going to become executed because of breaking that rule and it being such a big rule that she broke. I actually found a really good line, and I'm not debating on if I'm even going to start with it, even though it's kind of towards the end of the arc in this case, but I think it's a really great line, or a couple of lines that her brother actually talks about regarding to this execution, talking to the main character about the other main character, which his name is Ichigo, and he's the one that got Rukia's powers. And so when he comes to rescue Rukia from being executed, her brother, the lines that her brother says is so good for this. And I think I'm going to maybe start with it because they're just so good for this topic. So for reference for this is actually after Ichigo ends up saving Rukia from being executed, and him and her brother Byakuya get into this ginormous fight over it and duke it out basically almost. And so in the end, because Ichigo's trying to wonder why Byakuya wouldn't try to save his own sister. And so in the end, when it kind of ends in this crazy draw between the two of them, he finally explains to Ichigo why he doesn't save her. And so this is what he says. "You wanted to know why I didn't try to save Rukia? Lawbreakers must face justice. They must be punished according to their crimes. That is the law. You were going to kill her to uphold the law, your own sister. Sympathy for one's own kin is unworthy. What did you say? Familiar devotion is nothing next to the law. I must not succumb to this sentimentality. The Kuchiki are one of the 4 great noble houses. We have to set an example for all Soul Reapers. If we do not uphold the law, who will?" What the basic notion that Byakuya is trying to get across here is that even if you go against the law, you should be punished for it, because you're going against the law, and that is something that is very bad. Which is exactly what happens with police brutality, or should happen, at least, with police brutality, is that they should be punished for breaking the law and for not doing the right thing.